Soybean Board is. For those of you that have not attended this meeting in the past, the United Soybean Board was established by an act of Congress in 1991. I am a staff person in St. Louis, Missouri. I'll introduce one of my directors here in just a few minutes. The United Soybean Board is governed by 70 board members from the growing area, soybean growing area in the United States. And represent about 600,000 soybean farmers. And some of you may not have heard, but don't know what a checkoff is, but a checkoff is whenever a farmer sells a bushel of soybeans, 1% of that sale is collected. 50% of those dollars that are collected stay within the state that they are collected, and 50% come to the national organization. And with the USB invests those dollars, and the USB and the state checkoff invest those dollars in production research. How do we grow more soybeans on the same amount of acreage, using less fertilizer, less chemicals, less trips across the field? We also do domestic market development. That is working with animal agriculture and with the health professionals across the United States, so they know more about what biobased products are, what the health and nutrition of eating soy is all about. We also do international market development. A lot of the products and a lot of the companies you'll see showcasing products out in the hallway today. We only use about 50% of the soybeans grown in the United States. About 50% of them are exported internationally. So one of the things our organization tries to do is find new uses here at home and try to keep those in where we will create jobs and make more money for companies that make sense here in the United States. The area that I specifically work in is industrial product development, working with, there's a number of companies in the room that I've worked with very closely over the years. USB spends a lot of dollars, millions of dollars every year funding both university, small company, and large company research, trying to see what we could do to make different types of industrial products. And of course, the world revolves around communications. No matter what you do, you have to get the word out and let everyone know what you're doing. We use communications to communicate back to the 600,000 farmers, let them know how their checkoff dollars are being spent and what's coming of those dollars. Just a few facts about soybeans. Last year, soybean farmers harvested about 75.9 million acres. When farmers sell their soybeans, they go to an elevator or a facility called a crush facility. When soybeans are crushed, you get 80% meal, which is protein, and of that 80%, 97% is used for livestock feed, and we also get 20% oil, and 70% of that oil is used for human consumption, like salad dressing, cooking oils, frying, baking oils, margarines, etc. And the 30% that's left over, we try to find something new and different to do with them. And over the last 18 years I've been with the organization, we've funded things like development of biodiesel, which is an additive or replacement to diesel fuel, plastic, solvents, paints and coatings, carpet backing, sealants, you name it. We're working with companies to try to come up with new uses. Like I said, the areas, the target areas we work in are the ones I just mentioned a little while ago. We're always looking for, we're going to different trade shows and meetings all the time, looking for companies to come up and say, you know, you've been working in this area, I've got a new idea, are you interested in helping support our work? And we bring that new proposal in, let the farm leaders take a look at it, and if so choose, we try to fund it and see what else new and different we can do. I guess with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker this afternoon. who is Kathleen Merrigan. Kathleen is Executive Director of Sustainability and faculty member at the George Washington University, where she leads university efforts in sustainability, education, research, practice, and outcome. From 2009 to 2003, Merrigan was U.S. Deputy Secretary and Chief Operating Officer of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, $150 billion organization with 110,000 employees. As Deputy Secretary, Merrigan created and led the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative to support local food systems. She was a key architect of Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign, made history as the first woman to chair the Ministerial Conference of Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Before joining USDA, Merrigan held a variety of agricultural policy positions, including faculty member of Friedman School of Nutrition Science and Policy at Tufts University.
That was me, sorry.
Kathleen holds a PhD in Environmental Planning and Policy from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a Master's of Public Affairs from the University of Texas, and a BA from Williams College. Recognized in history and scope of her work, Time Magazine named Dr. Merrigan among the 100 most influential people in the world in 2010. Please help me welcome Kathleen Merrigan.
I think I'm just going to go with that mic.
Oh, no, you're not.
Sorry about that. My little subtle effort at turning on the mic wasn't so subtle at all. So let me first say congratulations for those of you who participated in the hearing this morning, in the showcase. I wasn't able to be here because I was a part of the team prepping for your arrival. Ellis Palmieri up in the corner there, an intern in my office, he was there and he told me it was quite a crowd, quite a lot of excitement. So congratulations. Kicked off the day really well and now we're going to have fun for the next day and a half. My job here is to welcome you to George Washington University. Founded in 1821 by an act of Congress. Our colors are buff and blue. Buff and blue. Buff being kind of a beige color. Why is that? Those are the colors that George Washington wore in the battle. We are 25,000 students here on campus, 14,000 graduate students, 11,000 undergrads. You are in the School of Business where we have both undergraduate and graduate degrees conferred. We have students from all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and 120 countries. We have in the last, the 12-13 academic year, which is the last year that I had stats, we had over 1,000 veterans here as students on our campus who are using the VA veteran benefit. And that's always a big conversation in agricultural circles about our men and women coming home, and many of them coming from rural communities, as you've heard Secretary Vilsack talk about time and time again. In the 2014 edition of the Princeton Review, GW is described as the most politically active university in our nation. Eric Cantor is a graduate of GW, Harry Reid's a graduate of GW, and if you go up to Capitol Hill in the halls of the executive branch, we have many, many GW graduates. So, great place to be. And it's a great place to be around issues of sustainability. We hold this sustainability work near and dear to our hearts. It's one of the 9 core values of the university. We have a lot going on on campus. We have about 155 faculty members engaged in some aspect of sustainability research. We have about 330 courses across the school that touch upon sustainability in very meaningful ways. We have a great office of practice trying to green our university and working very closely with metro area universities and the DC government, led by Megan Chappell, who's here in the second row. I'd like to put you in the front row. You got in the second row, Megan. So that's really, really great. And then we have this outreach arm called Planet Forward. And some of you may have already been interviewed by Planet Forward. It is run by Frank Cesno, who at one point was the CNN White House Bureau Chief, who's now the director of our Media and Public Affairs School. And they have outreach into cyberspace, essentially, where they're trying to engage the millennial generation in issues around sustainability. So don't fear the camera, embrace the camera, because this is an outreach effort to get your messages out about what you're doing on bio-based products. I just want to also say that I have a number of students that are going to be in and out during today and tomorrow. Max Chen in the back. Max, can you raise your hand? Oh, come on a little higher. There you go. He's going to be one of the students that's, and you're still here too. Brittany's here. They're going to both be on the panel tomorrow, where we're going to talk about the millennial generation's views on bio-based. Brittany's still in school, but Max just graduated in May, so he's on the job market. I just want to give a little, he's a really great student, sustainability minor. Okay, then I just wanted to say a few things on a personal note. So I just, as Mike said, stepped down as deputy secretary about a year ago, just. And I promised my children that they could continue in school here in Washington, D.C. I wouldn't disrupt their lives. And I was really looking for a job where I could still do food and agriculture issues. And so landing here at the George Washington University gives me that opportunity. And so within the first 14 weeks of my being here on campus, to have so many old friends and colleagues and people who are doing really innovative stuff in the agriculture sector be here at our campus is a dream come true for me, and shows me that this is really going to be up my alley here on campus. And no greater thrill than to invite and welcome Krista Harden here on campus when she arrives, the deputy secretary, who took over in my stead, God help her. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me know if there's anything I can do in the next day and a half to help you. And I'm really excited about the innovations that are out in the outer room and learning more about what we can do together as we move the planet forward. Thank you very much.
All right, we made a couple mistakes. Okay, here we go. Back on track again. It's my pleasure now to introduce Farm Director, my boss, and one of my bosses, and John Motter, farms soybeans and corn on his farm in Gennaro, Ohio. He has 2 children, Jamie and Allison, and 2 grandsons. This is John's 5th year as USB Director. He currently serves as the Customer Focus Action Team Chair. Previously, John was served as Vice Chairman and member of the Audit and Evaluation Committee. He has also been a member of the Oil Action Team, the International Marketing Committee, Aquaculture Utilization Subcommittee, and Animal Utilization Subcommittee, and the Strategic Management Planning Team. I don't know how he has time for me. But he is also past chairman of the Ohio Soybean Council, and he's a member of the Farm Bureau and State Extension Advisory Board. I'll let John come up and officially welcome on behalf of USB.
Well, thank you, Mike. We at the United Soybean Board appreciate George Washington University's Sustainability Institute making it possible for us to bring everyone here at this business school. Combining business and sustainability is an appropriate platform for our theme, innovation and agriculture grow together. Thank you for traveling from across the nation to join in this important conversation. Dr. George Washington Carver and Henry Ford would surely smile if they were to walk through the lobby like all of us did this afternoon and see all the many products that we made from plants. Hundreds of bio-based products are in the marketplace today thanks to visionary pioneers just like them. As we start this program, I hope all of us will consider our own vision and see the importance of our discussions. What we do as a result of this meeting can lead to our children and grandchildren, like my grandsons, Randy and Ryan, having lives that are less dependent on petroleum, freer of harsh chemicals, and living in a U.S. economy offering exciting careers making bio-based products that none of us can even envision today. Soybean farmers are committed to such a future and doing it sustainably. I'm proud to say that I'm a third-generation family farmer. In fact, it was my grandmother who started our farm back during World War II. My father has always said that we have a responsibility to leave this land better than we found it. We have to be lifelong learners. I depend on innovations and technology that allow me to farm more sustainably than anything my dad or my grandmother would have ever envisioned. As an example, I use GPS systems to grid sample the land. It allows me to prescribe the exact amount of nutrients needed for that crop. It reduces my risk of fertilizer that runs off into the creeks and streams. And farmers like me now check into the use of drones to help us monitor these crops. Thanks to agricultural biotechnology, I grow more than 60 bushels an acre of soybeans. Without biotechnology, my dad's average yield back in 1979 was about half of that. He also had to use more pesticides and herbicides and till the ground more. That required him to use more diesel fuel. U.S. productivity increases have made an abundant soybean supply for food, feed, and bio-based products for this country, as well as many soybeans to export across the world. You know, when I talk about that and I think about that, it reminds me this past weekend, I had entertained a group of 18 Danish swine consultants at my farm. We got into this discussion about sustainability. And as we were talking, I told them, you know, I lost my father in 1979. And I said, if he were to come back today, and I would ask him to help me farm 35 years later. And I'd tell him to go out and jump in a tractor, take that grain drill out into a field of corn stalks and plant soybeans. The first reaction my father would have would be, boy, did I fail raising this son. Because in 1979, a good job of farming was we plowed everything. We put every corn stalk under the ground to allow it to break up and decompose under the ground. Today, that good job of farming means keeping every one of those stalks of corn on top of the ground to protect that, to mulch that ground, to save that moisture, to grow that next crop, and to allow Mother Nature and the oxygen and the sunlight to break those stalks down into nutrients that we can use in the future. You know, and then I would look at my dad and say, well, when you get out there on that tractor on that field and you start down the field, get your hands off the steering wheel. Because that tractor, you push this button and it's going to go straight down that field and be as efficient as I can be. These are things we do on the farm today to be sustainable. And you know, you look just back 35 years ago to what Dad did and how things have changed. Things have changed in many of the avenues that we all represent today, and it's no different on my farm. We're doing things better, more efficiently, and more sustainably than we've ever done. So with that, I'd like to invite you to view our new video about how U.S. soybeans can do all of those things. For all of you bio-based manufacturers, USV will be willing to share this video for you so that you can use it in your marketing programs. Josh, can you key that up?
much petroleum do you use? You might not realize how petrochemicals are common and widespread in your life. Plastic is full of petroleum. Petroleum is likely in the paint on your walls. It's found outside in the pavement and inside in your carpet. Petroleum is even in sports field turf. Your kids' crayons can contain petrochemicals, and so do some cleaning supplies you use to wash your kids' crayons off the window. We're used to pumping petrol into our gas tanks. But did you know your car's seat cushions usually contain petroleum? You have choices that can reduce our dependence on petroleum and foreign oil. Your choices can also decrease harmful chemicals in your workplace, your home, and surrounding us all in the environment. New answers emerge every year, making it simple for you to be part of the solution. America is evolving past decades of dependence on foreign oil and petrochemicals into more renewable, sustainable options. Made from natural resources grown in America, bio-based products offer a choice. Innovation begins with vision. Creative thinkers like George Washington Carver tapped into the potential of crops. Henry Ford wanted to make his cars from plants. Rudolph Diesel powered engines with peanut oil. To reduce the petrochemicals and things we encounter every day, we can start with a few key natural ingredients: sun, seeds, and soil. It's simple. Farmers and nature team up to grow seeds into plants each year. Pour in today's innovation and see the solutions grow before your eyes. Soybeans. Often called the miracle bean, soybeans pack a lot of power into a tiny little pod. They harvest energy from the sun and capture carbon from the atmosphere. Plus, these plants remove nitrogen from our air, transforming it into valuable nutrients for the soil and protein for our dinner tables. The resulting impact of these busy beans? In 1 year alone, U.S. soybeans can collectively remove from the atmosphere the carbon equivalent of taking 22 million cars off the road. Each year, nearly 600,000 independent U.S. farmers plant, grow, and harvest trillions of soybeans. By starting the cycle over again, they generate this air quality bonus year after year. 80% of a soybean is meal. That's the protein part. Almost all of America's soybean meal ends up as feed for livestock. 3% goes into human food and industrial products. 20% of a soybean is oil. Most goes to make things like salad dressing and cooking oil. What's left is well suited for bio-based products. Growth in global population and standards of living drive demand for protein. Meeting this need increases the supply of soybean oil. At the same time, U.S. farmers are preserving marginal land for wildlife and environmental efforts. The land required to produce a bushel of U.S. soybeans has decreased by 35% since 1980. In the last 30 years, U.S. farmers have reduced energy use, greenhouse gas emissions, and irrigation water use per bushel of soybeans by more than 40%. Meanwhile, we benefit from greater supplies of soybean oil. It's an abundant, renewable source for food, fuels, and bio-based products. Change starts with each of us. You can make the natural choice today by choosing bio-based products for offices, fleets, homes, construction jobs, and more. Hundreds of soy bio-based options are now available for everything from cleaning supplies, furniture, car seats, and hydraulic fluids to pavement and rooftops. Choose soy inside carpet, turf, paints, and so much more. Be an agent for change. To find more products that make it an easy choice, head to www.soybiobased.org. and start switching to soy today.
Okay, thank you. What I would like to do, we're going to take a brief break now. What the Deputy Secretary